Gordon, Bane has escaped.
Playing safe rarely feels like cowardice from the inside. It feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels like waiting for the right moment, protecting your peace, being realistic, keeping options open, avoiding unnecessary risk. Sometimes those reasons are honest, and a man must not confuse wisdom with fear. Yet the weaker self learns to speak in respectable language. It knows how to make hesitation sound intelligent. It knows how to make half-commitment sound balanced. It knows how to make avoidance sound strategic. The question is not whether caution has value. The question is whether caution has become the cage. A man should look at his life and ask which safety nets are actually saving him, and which ones are quietly preserving the exact weakness he keeps promising to outgrow. Protection becomes poison when it keeps the old self alive. A life held too safely starts to feel strangely dead. Nothing terrible may be happening, yet nothing truly alive is being built either. The job is tolerated. The dream remains near enough to mention, but far enough to avoid testing. The body gets maintained at a level that does not humiliate him too loudly. The bank account survives without becoming powerful. Relationships continue without honest confrontation. The man is not ruined, but he is not rising. That middle state can become more dangerous than obvious failure because it provides enough comfort to stop urgency from waking up. A man does not always need a disaster to lose himself. Sometimes he only needs a life that is bearable enough to keep postponing the one he actually wants. Safety can become a slow drug. It numbs the pain of staying small. Hernan Cortés destroyed his ships to conquer an empire. It is often remembered as a brutal symbol of commitment, though the lesson should not be worship of conquest or violence. The useful point is psychological. Once return was removed, the mind had to reorganize itself around forward movement. Hesitation lost its favorite escape. The men could no longer stand between two worlds, half loyal to the shore behind them and half loyal to the one ahead. That kind of forced clarity changes behavior because the nervous system stops spending energy on whether to continue. The decision has already been made. The only remaining question becomes how to survive, adapt, fight, build, and move. A man often underestimates how much strength is wasted in keeping retreat available. The body may be present, but the mind keeps checking the exit. Remove that exit in the right way, and a different level of intelligence appears. Human beings behave according to consequences. When the consequence of quitting is soft, quitting remains attractive. When the consequence of staying the same becomes immediate, the mind begins searching for strength it previously claimed did not exist. This is why deadlines work. This is why public responsibility works for some people. This is why debt, loss, humiliation, exile, hunger, and danger can awaken parts of a person that comfort never reached. Painful pressure is not always noble, and no man should create stupid chaos just to feel intense. But he must understand the mechanism. The mind does not fully mobilize for a goal it can abandon without cost. A man who gives himself endless exits should not be shocked when he keeps using them. Commitment requires friction at the door of retreat. Make going backward expensive enough, and forward starts looking less optional. The safe path also protects identity from judgment. A man who never fully commits can always say he did not really try. That sentence is a shelter for the ego. If the business fails, he was only testing it. If the body stays weak, life was too busy. If the craft never develops, he never had proper time. If the relationship remains shallow, he was protecting himself. If the dream dies, he can claim circumstances prevented a real attempt. Half effort lets a man keep believing in an untested version of himself. Full effort is more dangerous because it brings a verdict. It may reveal that he needs more skill, more humility, more discipline, more patience, more correction. That truth wounds pride, but it also gives the only material that can build something real. The man who refuses full commitment is often not avoiding failure. He is avoiding information. Retreat must be removed with intelligence, not stupidity. Burning every bridge in a childish rage can destroy a life before it has structure. Leaving a job with no plan, cutting people off for drama, risking money without skill, or mistaking chaos for courage is not command. The stronger move is controlled point of no return. Put money where the mission is. Enter the competition. Set the deadline. Hire the coach. Announce a specific deliverable to people whose opinion carries weight. Move the phone out of the room. Remove the food that defeats the body. Cancel the easy habit before the craving arrives. Sign the contract with your future in practical terms. A serious man does not merely say retreat is gone. He designs the environment so retreat becomes harder than obedience. That is strategy, not theater. A chosen shore requires a chosen identity. Without that, the old self will keep arguing for survival. The man who wants the new body must stop identifying as someone who struggles with consistency and start acting under the law of someone who trains regardless of weather inside the mind. The man who wants freedom must stop speaking like money is a mystery and begin treating value, skill, spending, and negotiation as his education. The man who wants respect must stop hiding behind potential and become visible through output. Identity is not created by declaration alone. It is hardened through repeated evidence. Every time the old route is unavailable and the standard is served, the new self gains weight. Eventually, the man no longer feels as if he is forcing a change. He begins to feel disgust at the thought of returning. You have talked yourself out of nearly every bold move you ever considered, and each time it felt like wisdom. The opportunity appeared, something in you leaned toward it, and then a colder voice listed everything that could go wrong, everything you might lose, every way it could fail. You listened to that voice, called it prudence, and stayed where you were. This has happened so many times it has become your default. This reflexive retreat from risk dressed up as careful thinking. But look at where the caution has left you. Safe, yes. Also stuck. Exactly where you were years ago, having protected yourself right out of the life you wanted. Notice that the risks you refuse are not even that dangerous. The move that would advance your career but might not work. The relationship worth pursuing that could end in rejection. The venture that might fail and cost you some money and some pride. None of these would actually destroy you, and you know it, yet you treat them as though the downside were catastrophic. The threat feels enormous, disproportionate to what is actually at stake, and you obey that feeling as if it were an accurate reading of reality. It is not. Something in your wiring is inflating the danger, and you have been surrendering to the distortion your whole life. Watch how differently you treat holding on versus reaching for. You will fight fiercely to keep what you have, guarding your comfort and your familiar situation with real intensity, while showing almost no drive to reach for something better. The energy is all defensive. You are far more motivated to avoid losing your current mediocre position than to gain a superior one, and this imbalance shapes every choice you make, keeping you clutching what you have instead of reaching for what you want. You have never questioned this asymmetry. You assume wanting to protect what you have is just natural. It is, but it is also crippling you, and there is a reason it runs so deep. Two researchers, Kahneman and Tversky, won a Nobel Prize for uncovering the mechanism behind all of this in work they called prospect theory. What they found was startling in its precision. The pain of losing something is roughly twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. Lose $100 and the sting is about double the joy of finding 100. This is not a preference or an attitude. It is a measurable feature of how the human mind processes gain and loss, a built-in imbalance that weights every potential loss at twice its actual size, distorting your decisions without your awareness or consent. Understand what this means for every choice you have ever made about risk. When you weigh a bold move, you are not calculating rationally. You are running biology that automatically doubles the weight of everything you might lose while counting what you might gain at face value. The scale is rigged before you even begin. A decision that is actually favorable, where the potential gain outweighs the potential loss, still feels like a bad idea because your mind has secretly doubled the loss side of the ledger. This is why safe choices feel right even when they are wrong, and why bold choices feel reckless even when they are clearly the better bet. Here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. This double weighting applies even to losses that are not real, to imaginary things like reputation, comfort, and familiarity. Your mind treats the potential loss of your comfort zone, or of how others see you, or of the familiar situation you know, with the same doubled intensity it would apply to losing something tangible. You are being held back by the fear of losing things that barely exist, that have no real substance, and your biology is inflating even these phantom losses to twice their imaginary size, keeping you frozen in place to protect things that would cost you nothing to lose. Recognize the trap you are caught in now that you can see its mechanism. You are not a coward, and you are not making rational choices. You are a man running ancient wiring that systematically distorts risk to keep you safe. Wiring that made sense when a single loss could mean death, but now only keeps you small. The caution you have mistaken for wisdom is a bug in your programming, an evolutionary holdover that treats every risk as more dangerous than it is, and you have been obeying it your entire life, letting a distortion in your own mind dictate the boundaries of what you dare to attempt. Consider what it would mean to correct for this bias deliberately. Knowing that your mind doubles every potential loss, you can consciously adjust, discounting the fear you feel, because you understand it is inflated, recognizing that the risk which feels too dangerous is probably, in reality, a good bet. This is the advantage available to the man who understands the mechanism. While everyone around him obeys their distorted wiring and plays it safe, he can see through the distortion, correct for it, and take the favorable risks that others are too biologically frightened to touch. The bias that limits everyone becomes, for the man who understands it, an edge. The mind was not built first for greatness. It was built first for survival. That is a hard truth because many people treat fear as if it is a personal failure, when much of it is older than their personality. A man looks at a chance and immediately sees the humiliation, the loss, the criticism, the risk, the embarrassment, the possible rejection, the way it could all go wrong. The reward may be real, but the threat feels louder. That does not mean the opportunity is wrong. It means the brain is doing what it was trained to do across thousands of generations. Protect the organism before it considers the prize. This is why the weaker path can feel wise. This is why staying small can feel peaceful. This is why the door ahead can be open, and a man still stands there frozen, arguing with a fear that sounds like intelligence. The ancient mind preferred false alarms over missed alarms. A rustle in the grass could be wind, or it could be teeth. The ancestor who reacted too strongly lived to feel foolish. The one who reacted too slowly did not get a second lesson. That inheritance sits inside modern men, even when the danger has changed shape completely. Today, the Russell is not always a predator. It may be an email, a hard conversation, a public post, a business attempt, a first session at the gym, a rejection, a career risk, a room full of people who might judge. The body still reacts as if exile or death waits behind the discomfort. A man must understand this without becoming soft about it. The fear may be ancient, but the decision is still his. Wiring explains the impulse. It does not excuse lifelong obedience to it. Playing it safe can feel like control, but often it is only the nervous system choosing familiarity over possibility. A man stays where he is because the current pain has become predictable. He knows the shape of his frustration. He understands the limits of his routine. He knows how to complain about the same problems, survive the same disappointments, and explain the same lack of movement. The life he wants feels uncertain, so the mind charges him before he reaches it. It shows him failure in advance. It makes the body heavy before the work begins. It turns one possible bad outcome into a private warning siren. This is how many people get trapped without a visible cage. They are not choosing safety from a place of calm judgment. They are obeying old alarms and calling that obedience maturity. Negativity bias is cruel because it makes the cost of action feel immediate and the cost of inaction feel distant. The fear of being laughed at hurts now. The regret of remaining unchanged comes later. The discomfort of training hurts now. The sickness of neglect arrives later. The embarrassment of starting poorly happens now. The tragedy of never developing the skill waits quietly in the future. The mind discounts the future because the present threat feels louder. That is why a man can destroy 10 years by avoiding 10 minutes of discomfort at a time. He keeps choosing relief, not because relief is good, but because relief is close. A disciplined life begins when a man starts giving future pain the same respect as present fear. He must learn to see inaction as danger too. A serious man does not try to delete fear. That is childish. Fear is information, but it is not command. The mistake is letting every alarm become law. When the mind says, "This could go wrong," the weak response is retreat. The stronger response is interrogation. How likely is it? What can be prepared? Which part is theater? What action reduces the risk? What would remain if the worst happened? Fear becomes smaller when it is made specific. Vague danger rules like a ghost. Named danger becomes an object on the table. A man can study an object. He can cut it, prepare for it, move around it, carry it, or decide it is not worth obedience. The mind loses power when its shadows are forced into shape. The modern world has made the old wiring worse because it gives the brain endless threats to chew on. A man can consume bad news, comparison, outrage, shame, predictions, criticism, and other people's disasters before breakfast. The mind was already tilted toward danger. Now it is being fed danger by machines built to hold attention. Then he wonders why taking action feels impossible. His nervous system has spent the morning defending against things that have nothing to do with his mission. A focused man must become ruthless with input, not ignorant, ruthless. He cannot allow every headline, every opinion, every insult, every trend, every stranger's success, and every artificial conflict to enter the command room. Attention is not a public park, it is military ground. What enters it begins shaping the orders. The men who override this wiring do not become fearless, they become trained. That difference matters. Training teaches the body that discomfort can rise without ending the mission. Each honest attempt weakens the old alarm. Each repeated exposure gives the nervous system new evidence. Speak when the voice shakes. Train when the body resists. Publish when judgment is possible. Ask when refusal could happen. Start when the first attempt may be ugly. The goal is not to make the risk vanish. The goal is to stop letting risk decide the size of your life. A man expands through controlled contact with what once controlled him. Avoidance makes the alarm louder. Action teaches it rank. Eventually fear still arrives, but it no longer sits on the throne. Every time you face a real decision, your mind asks only one question, and it is the wrong one. What could go wrong if I do this? You run through the failure scenarios, the ways the bold move could blow up, the risks of acting, and because those dangers feel vivid and immediate, you retreat to safety. This has become automatic, a mental habit so ingrained you do not even notice it running. But notice it now, because the question itself is rigged. By asking only what could go wrong if you act, you have loaded the entire calculation against action, and you have completely ignored the other side of the ledger, the one that actually matters. Consider what your mind conveniently leaves out of every risk assessment. It calculates the danger of doing the thing in detail with feeling. It never calculates the danger of not doing it. The cost of staying put, of choosing safety, of letting the opportunity pass, simply does not appear on the page, as if inaction were free, as if the safe choice carried no price at all. This is the blind spot that has shaped your entire life. You have been making decisions with half the information, weighing only the risks of action while treating the risks of inaction as though they did not exist, and they have been accumulating in the dark the whole time. Watch how the safe path sells itself to you. It promises no loss, no failure, no risk, just the comfortable continuation of what already is. And because its cost never announces itself, never arrives in a single dramatic moment you could point to, you conclude the cost is zero. This is the great deception of playing it safe. The price is real and often enormous, but it arrives so slowly, spread so thinly across the years, that you never feel the individual payments, never connect the quiet erosion of your life to the safe choices that caused it. The bill is being paid. You just never see it leave your account. Try the calculation the honest way, the way almost no one does. Take the safe path you are currently on and play the tape forward. Not 1 year, but 5, then 10, then 20. Picture with real specificity where the safe choice leads, what your life actually looks like if you keep choosing comfort and avoiding risk, if you continue exactly as you are. Follow the trajectory all the way out to its destination. This is the calculation your mind refuses to run, because it only ever considers the immediate risk of acting, never the long compounding cost of not acting. And running it deliberately reveals what the safe path has been hiding. Understand what that forward projection usually shows, because it is rarely gentle. The safe path, followed for 20 years, does not lead to a pleasant, stable life. It leads to a slow suffocation of everything you wanted, a steady accumulation of regret, a version of you who grew smaller and more bitter with each opportunity declined. The cost that seemed like zero, when spread across 2 decades and totaled honestly, becomes staggering, usually the most terrifying number on the entire page. The bold move you feared might cost you something. The safe path, calculated properly, costs you your life, just slowly enough that you never noticed the theft. Here is the psychological reason this stays hidden from you, and it is worth understanding. Your mind is built to wait immediate, vivid threats far more heavily than distant, gradual ones, which means the sharp risk of acting now overwhelms the diffuse risk of a wasted future. A failure that could happen next month feels real and urgent. A slow decline spread across 20 years feels abstract and unreal, even though it is far more certain and far more costly. Your brain is bad at fearing slow things, and the safe path exploits this flaw perfectly, delivering its devastation at a pace your fear response cannot detect. Recognize the cruel timing built into this. Because the cost of the safe path arrives slowly, you do not feel it until it is too late to do anything about it. The man who played it safe does not discover the true price at 25 when he could still change course. He discovers it at 55 when the accumulated cost of 1,000 cautious choices finally becomes visible all at once, and the opportunities to have chosen differently are gone. The slowness that made the safe path feel painless is the same slowness that ensures you cannot correct it until the damage is complete. Consider how this reframes the very idea of risk. You have been treating the bold move as the risky choice and the safe path as the secure one, but the honest calculation inverts this completely. The bold move risks a manageable loss now for a shot at a far better life. The safe path risks your entire future, guaranteeing a slow accumulation of regret in exchange for avoiding a little discomfort today. Seen clearly, with both sides of the ledger filled in, the safe path is the reckless gamble, betting your one life on the hope that comfort now will not cost you everything later. It always does.